What is going on, guys? It's your boy TB here from SMB coming at you today. We got a little bit to talk about. I hope you all had a fantastic holiday weekend and took it easy. Didn't try to do anything stupid on Black Friday because, like I told you all in my video I made for about Black Friday, the trading session, I said nothing's gonna happen. It's gonna be a rough one. Apple did have some movement to the downside. The S&P really didn't do anything on Friday. It kind of gave us an ugly tweezer top actually on the daily, which kind of foreshadowed what happened today, and I just now am noticing that. But not much happened. I talked about a potential rug pull, maybe that we'd see some sell off, but I think I was a day early because we got that kind of rug pull sell off sort of day today. Really just out of nowhere, but I'm gonna get into it, and that's really the going to be the title of the video. Bears kind of took control back today, but it's not that I'm saying we're going to just go straight down or anything. I'm just going to get into it. But the real story today was Apple. Apple led the market down, and Apple has been incredibly weak compared to the rest of the market. When you look at the Nasdaq, you see where the Nasdaq's at. It is it gets close to the highs that it has made in this little rally that we've had over the month of November. But then, or especially if you look at the S&P, S&P's really up there. If you look at the Dow is really up there. But today we had a big sell-off on Apple, and Apple is just underperforming. It is having a rough go of things, and I'm going to talk about why exactly I believe that is. But first, elephant in the room, we got big news coming out of China. China, got my hair looks like a bit of a nightmare. China is having some big old protests, like huge protests, biggest protests since that thing that happened in 1989 that the Chinese government doesn't want to talk about. And I'm scared to even say on YouTube. Maybe they'll ban me. Oh no. But no, it's crazy protests going on in China right now. And why is that a big deal for Apple? Well, Apple is, for lack of better terms, really in bed with China. They are very reliant on Chinese labor for producing their iPhones, which now we're getting news out today that they are millions and millions of iPhones, like individual iPhones, behind schedule. They are getting hammered by these protests because workers in these factories are, for obvious reasons, storming out of the factories, and now we're getting news headlines that the government's forcing them back in, forcing them to go to work, and it's just a horrendous optics for Apple. They are one of these lousy companies that tries to act like they're like a very virtuous company. You know, we care about the big problems. And then the other thing, they're standing up to Twitter and Elon because oh no, they unbanned Trump, so now we got to show that we are against Trump. They're just one of these classic companies that doesn't they don't care about anything. They just care about money, which yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. It's capitalism, but I think I really don't think the market cares that much about that. I think the market's really worried about these protests in China, which are just crazy. And it is just worrying because it's one of these things that we just don't have any precedent for before in the market. Or we don't have any precedent to like look back in time and be like, what was the last time that there was an uprising in China? Because we've never been like so in bed with China on a manufacturing level. We've never had a company as huge as Apple that is so dependent on China. Same with Tesla; they're also really dependent on China. They have a super factory over there in Shanghai. So this just one of these things where it's just like no one knows what to make of it. It's really confusing. We're not sure what to think because there's no example for how the markets reacted to this before. So that's just another one of these lessons this year, just like Ukraine war. It's just one of these crazy things where the market doesn't know what to do. So you just get a really weird day out of the market. But anyways, obviously that's why Apple is down so bad, why we are seeing really high volume on Apple, a big uptick in Apple selling volume here. And I'm just going to talk about what levels I have on Apple. So the key level that I already had, which it bounced right off of, which I was like, hell yeah, that was awesome. Right at 143.50, that's a big support level that bulls absolutely need to hold on to. But above that, we have 144.77. So as of right now, Apple looks like it wants to keep going down. It is not looking good. It looks like it wants to come down and retest lows down here at 135. I don't expect it to go straight down, but I'm just going to watch my levels. And then below that, I have another level at 141. But then the main thing that could really accelerate this downfall is this massive gap that Apple has from 135 all the way up to 140.50, like a huge gap. This is that I believe that was the CPI day, right? Yeah, that was the CPI gap from the last CPI print that we got. So we got just a massive gap on Apple to the downside. Kind of scary. I'm not thinking it's like too late to get into puts, but I think I would wait for a little bounce before I would think about puts on Apple. But yeah, it's not looking good for Apple. And these are just, this is another thing you just can't predict. You just cannot see. I mean, China, yeah, it's been a nightmare for these past couple of years. It's the protests are all about the COVID zero thing, how they're just locking people up. They locked up like 8 people in this apartment building that was on fire, and they straight up just said, nope, firefighters can't go in, COVID zero. So it's crazy stuff. And that is really, I think, why the market had a bit of a rough one today. And if you look at the S&P now, on the daily, we put it in a big red candle, big 1% gap down, and then we just continued going down today. We did get a nice bounce in the early morning off that gap down, but it immediately got rejected here at about the 485 cent mark, and we just rejected off of that, and now we are tumbling down. What I'm watching for on the S&P, though, is we have this trend line. So we have this trend line support. This is our uptrend line right here. I'm seeing a confluence of that trend line with these key levels right here at 392. And then we have this demand zone right here, this nice little rectangle where where buyers have been stepping up and buying us out of that. So I believe we are going to retest. And that confluence with that level right there on that trend line, I think we absolutely will get another red day tomorrow, if not the day after. We have gotten a sell signal on the system. We crossed below that 50 simple moving average on the 30-minute chart, which if you shorted off of that, then bravo, because the market just went straight down from there. We dropped about 1% throughout the day after we broke that. But that is what I'm looking at on the S&P. I told you guys about this. I have this big, you see this big red box? I told you this is the supply zone. And now it's not a horizontal supply zone, you know, it's at an angle, but this has been the box, the supply zone that sellers have stepped up and sold us out of every time. And sure enough, what has happened these past couple sell-off days, we have touched that box. You see that? We sell off out of it. We get in there, we sell back out of it. And that is ultimately where it's just the trend right there. And we do have the ultimate trend line way up here that we could still test up here at 406. But that 200-day moving average is right up there. We could retest that. That's what I'm waiting for. I'm waiting for the retest of 392 and a bounce off of that. But below 392, and I'm very worried. This is still just a standard like market cool-off day. We're a little hungover from the holidays, you know. We're going to get a pullback. No big deal. But it is about the continuation and how much volume we have to the downside. This wasn't like a crazy high volume selling day. You can see that volume down there is looking pretty low. But just things to watch out for. Other thing to watch out for on the S&P is we have a big gap up from 401 all the way up to like 402.50. But if we zoom out to the hourly here, we have this big gap over yonder, way over here. Big gap above that, and look at where we've been rejecting. We've been rejecting off that gap. So we have this gap from way over here, back in like midway through September. We have a big gap from 403 all the way up to 409, like a monster gap right there. So that is where the bears have been saying, no, you're not going to fill that gap, and that is the level to watch. So I mean, we break above 403, we could quickly, and I mean quickly, run up to 409 easily before we see a big rejection off of that, because keep in mind this big red box I got, this is that diagonal, this is that dynamic supply zone, I will call it. That is the dynamic supply zone where sellers have been stepping up, and you got to look at the confluences. We have our 200-day moving average right in the middle of that. That is right where we rejected off of last time. We got the trend line right above that. We got major levels on the S&P that we have rejected off of heavily, like 410 and 411. So all these things considered, you just have to be very wary. I would not Be surprised if this is the beginning of the next leg down, but I just don't see it happening yet. I think we're going to wait until we get more inflation data, which actually comes out, I believe, let me see. If it comes out, I think tomorrow, the 29th, right? Let's have a look. I should have looked this up before. No, tomorrow, 29th, we got our consumer confidence at 7 a.m. We get consumer confidence report. And then the 30th is a big day. We get, I believe it's a big day. No. December 1st. My fault. December 1st, this Thursday, we get a lot of unemployment data. We get a lot of personal spending, personal income, PC prices core, manufacturing index. We get a lot of stuff on Thursday. So be wary of the chop. I know I say that all the time, but that's just how this market is. The market is waiting on these big headlines to come out to push us in a direction, and that is there's just no arguing that. It sucks that that's how the market is because it's so unpredictable, but that's just the nature of bear markets. They are unpredictable and they go down because of the nature of the bear market, which is that it's unpredictable and you don't know what's going to happen. You might get bad news, you might get good news. Nobody really knows except for the inside traders at the big hedge funds. So just got to watch out for that. When we got big news headlines later in the week, we can get a lot of choppy days, and I would not be surprised tomorrow if it's a very choppy day where we don't see much upside, we don't see much downside. We could just be range bound until Thursday. We could just be stuck in this range of 402 down to 390, and that could just be a trading range for the foreseeable future. But the only way to know is just to wait and let the market tell you where it's going to go. Here at S&B, we are not about predicting the market. We are about reacting to it, and that is the ultimate way to try to succeed in this market. If you're going to try to predict a bear market, you are out of your mind. You can predict a bull market. Yeah, things are good. Things are just going to keep going up. Not the case in a bear market. You got to be smarter than that. So that's what I'm seeing on the S&P 500. Looking at over at the Nasdaq, the Nasdaq is also kind of just range bound. We are probably going to see a test of this level here at 281, maybe to 280.50. If we get a bounce off of that, that is very bullish. Below that, I'm really worried because we have this monster level that we have already lost. That was really the level to reclaim on the Nasdaq. Let's get these out of here. It was the level to reclaim was this 284 level. That was the big. Once we retook that, we retested it, we bounced off of it, retested, bounce. So we were just retesting, bouncing on the Nasdaq. And take a look at this. Let's do the same exact thing here. Look at that. Where's the Nasdaq sold out of? There's that dynamic supply zone that I told you all about. Look at that. It tapped it. It just touched it. You see that? You see the market's touched it, rejected, touched, reject. It got in there, rejected, 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 rejected. Came up, reject, retest, reject. Nice big dynamic supply zone right there where sellers are awaiting, and look at that, right where we sold out of. How about that? Who'd have guessed it? So that's where we're looking at on the Nasdaq. I like Nasdaq upside if we can retake 289. But right now, another just wait and see. It's tough going out there. If you look around, there's a lot of weak stocks in the Nasdaq right now. The Amazon actually squeezed out a green day today, but it is looking like it wants another leg lower. Amazon, I told you guys last week, Amazon has been looking weak. It does not look good to the upside, in my honest opinion. I believe it's kind of just in this bear flag. I think we're really just bear flagging down here, and we are going to break out of it to the downside, and we could see a big dump out of Amazon. It's got a big gap to fill to the downside too. If you look at Tesla, so I told you guys about this falling wedge on Tesla. Look at this. I mean, beautiful, 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 beautiful. Look at this falling wedge. Big falling wedge on Tesla. Where did it reject off of? Look at that trend line right there. Boom, boom, touched, reject. Watch out for Tesla to the downside. I don't believe the market is strong enough to break out of this, but if Tesla does break out of this, we see a break above 189 on Tesla. That is crazy bullish in my opinion. It is a really nice falling wedge, and Tesla is just it's beat up right now. It is oversold. But the rejection off of that top of that channel is not a good look. That's pretty bearish looking, but it's one of those things you just got to wait and see. You got to wait for the play to come to you. You can't try to predict if it's going to break out of that, but it just literally tapped it perfectly. Just 188.50 right on the money. Perfect, baby. Um, anyways, I that's about all I'm seeing right now. It's we're in a weird spot right now. We're getting just weird news out of China. Apple is just it's just lagging. I mean, that's really the story of the market is just what's going on with Apple. Why is Apple struggling so much? It has put in a -2% day on Black Friday, where there was relatively nothing going on, and then we got this big fat -2.5% day on Apple. And you can kind of see a break if you look at the volume down here. We're almost breaking out of this like weird volume uptrend that we or downtrend that we've been in. We're finally breaking out. We're getting some big selling to the downside, and that is kind of what I talked about. I said, hey, we're not going to see the bottom of this market until we see Apple shareholders capitulation, and that is, I don't know. I don't know when it's going to happen. But just this news out of China, the fact that they're so heavily reliant on Chinese labor, and right now those people working in those Chinese factories are up in arms. They are uprising, and Apple is just one of the big boogeymen that they don't like over there because they're really friendly with the government and they hate their government over there, and therefore they hate Apple because Apple doesn't pay them shit for what they do. So a lot going on. It could be another slow one today. I believe I don't think we get any kind of news tomorrow, right? The 29th. Yeah, consumer confidence at 7. So if that's bad, watch out. But like I said before, we're waiting for the big news. We're waiting for that unemployment data on Friday and Thursday. We're waiting for that inflation news on Thursday. So Thursday, save your dry powder for Thursday. Thursday is going to be a crazy, crazy day. And then of course next week we have the big stuff happening. We got that PPI data coming out. Do we have an FOMC? No, FOMC isn't until 2 weeks from now. Yeah, we get that CPI, and then I believe we do get FOMC. Yep, FOMC, December 14th. Mark your calendars, boys. Big day, big day. So thanks for watching, folks. Just watch out for those bears, man. I think they might be back. Today was a little worrying, but don't get too bearish, don't get too bullish. Just trade your plan, stick to your plan, and bravo, keep it up. Thanks, folks. Drop a like, drop a comment, please. Subscribe if you enjoy the content. Just trying to grow this thing, you know. So I appreciate you all for watching. Thank you.